Welcome to the ultimate guide to FM24 Save Ideas in France, a nation that has a variety of mouth-watering clubs for you to take charge of, and one of them could just be the greatest football manager save you've ever had. The French League is currently undergoing a restructuring. The top tier has been reduced from 20 to 18 clubs, and this season League 2 is contested by 20 clubs but is also being reduced to 18 for next season. In the National there are currently 18 clubs, but to accommodate the restructuring further up the pyramid, this season only 2 sides will be promoted and 6 will be relegated. From next season this division will be rebranded to League 3, but which clubs might give rise to some long-term FM24 saves? Well, at the top, last season PSG secured their 9th title in 11 seasons. But the challenge if you take charge in the capital would be to win a first Champions League. Second place Lens would offer you Champions League football, but they've had some high-profile departees that they've replaced with some exciting talents. Marseille are threatening to become title challengers once more and will have some experienced names in their squad if you choose to take charge of the only French side to capture Europe's top honour. And further down the table, the recruitment at 6th place Monaco has left fans in the Principality hopeful that, with you at the helm, a 9th Ligue 1 title is a possibility. But if you're looking for a top-flight club to manage and fancy a bit more of a challenge than one of the traditional top sides, well, Strasbourg may fit the bill. The Ligue 1 champions in 1979 have had an eventful last decade or so. The club suffered 2 relegations in 3 seasons as they dropped from Ligue 1 to the Nationale in 2010. And by 2011 they were facing administration and dropping into France's 5th tier. But by 2017 they'd fought their way back to France's top flight. This season has seen the Blueco group led by Chelsea owner Todd Bowley invest in the club, a move that has proved unpopular in some quarters. Chelsea players have joined Strasbourg on loan and former national team midfielder Patrick Vieira has been installed as head coach. Those that enjoy playing FM24 with a strong affiliate link may enjoy taking charge of Strasbourg and try and turning them into France's top side. But if you're looking for more of a rebuild, there's been precious little to celebrate at Nantes over recent seasons. A 16th place finish last season saw the club avoid relegation by just 1 point. But Nantes are still seen as one of the traditional powerhouses of French football, having won 8 league titles. And only PSG, Saint-Etienne and Marseille have more. Their last golden era was at the turn of the century, where they won the French Cup in the year 2000 and the Ligue 1 title a year later. But since then, a further cup final victory in 2022 is the only triumph for a club that developed its own brand of football in the 60s and 70s known as Jeux à la Nantes. The club built a reputation for developing young players such as Claude Makélélé, Didier Deschamps, Christian Carambeau and Marcel Desailly, and the club enjoy passionate support at their 35,000 capacity stadium. The Canaries have not had much to sing about over recent years, but that is, of course, until you take over as their new boss. Another historic club and former giant of French football that have fallen on harder times over recent years are Olympique Lyonnais. Founded in 1950, they won their first Ligue 1 crown in 2002, the first of 7 consecutive league victories for the club from the 3rd largest city in France. On the continental stage, Lyon have reached 4 European semi-finals, including 1 in the Champions League, without ever going on to reach a final. But this does show the pedigree of a club that boasts a women's team that are 8 times champions of Europe. It's fitting that a club nicknamed the Kids have produced some of France's most prodigious talents over recent years, including Anthony Martial, Alexander Lacazette, Nabil Fekir, as well as Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema. The bulk of the club's success was under the reign of President Jean-Michel Aulas. The businessman took control of the club in 1987 when Lyon was still in the 2nd division, and he went on to develop a 59,000-seater stadium and oversaw an avalanche of trophies. But last season the club laboured to a 7th place finish that coincided with Aulas stepping down as club president. Maybe it's time for you to take charge and build another dynasty. But if you're looking for a youth-only save rather than a rebuild, then look no further than Normandy outfit Le Havre, a club founded by British students in 1884 and one promoted back to Ligue 1 last season. Le Havre became the first club from outside Paris to be declared national champions, which they achieved in 1899, a feat made all the more remarkable by the fact but it was their debut season in that division. The club also lifted the Coupe de France in the 1950s, but it is perhaps their academy that they are best known for. Former youth players include Jean-Alain Boumsong, Lassana Diarra, Riyad Mahrez, Steve Mandanda, Vikash Dorosu, Paul Pogba, and Dimitri Payet. This could be the ideal setting for an FM24 youth adventure where you rely on your own youth intakes to return Le Havre to the top of the domestic game. Dropping into Ligue 2, Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne are both obvious candidates for an FM24 adventure. The latter's 10 Ligue 1 titles is second only to PSG, but for an FM24 save that begins in the second tier that you could make a youth-only adventure, recently relegated Auxerre are a club with pedigree. Or if you fancy an island adventure, both Bastia and Ajaccio will be contesting a Corsican derby in Ligue 2 this season. But for a real second-tier challenge, how about taking the reins of the club that are competing at this level for the first time in their history? Concarneau are based in Brittany on France's northwest coast. The town has a population of just 20,000 residents, making it roughly the same size as Penzance, the town that it is twinned with. Concarneau's greatest footballing achievement prior to last season was being the birthplace of 1998 World Cup winner Stefan Givash. But last season the club were crowned champions of La Nacional, meaning that they'll compete in the second tier for the first time in their history, but as evidence of the scale of the task facing you, their ground wasn't even up to playing at this level, and they will spend the season ground sharing with local rivals Brest and Lorient. Perhaps you could take charge, help the club relocate to a new stadium, and turn them into a Ligue 1 team of the future. But perhaps an even bigger challenge awaits you in the third tier, where the left-wing anti-fascist Red Star remain the ideal Parisian club for a road to glory career, or maybe you prefer to take charge of Sochaux, who are two-time winners of Ligue 1 but were demoted from Ligue 2 last season. Or if you fancy the challenge of a small points deduction, you could take the helm at Nancy, a side currently in the doldrums but who were French Cup winners in the late 1970s. But at this level you will also find one of French football's great bridesmaids just waiting for a coach to lead them to glory. Nîmes were founded in 1937 and have a history of almosts and what-ifs. The club have been top-flight runners-up 4 times in their history without ever becoming league champions. And this story of near misses is replicated in the Coupe de France, where Nîmes have made 3 finals over 3 different decades and lost all 3. The most recent of which was in 1996 when they lost to an 88th minute winner by Auxerre. Even their sole appearance in the Trophée de Champion, the annual match between the winners of the league and the cup, ended in a final defeat, and currently without a ground whilst their own is redeveloped, this is your chance to take charge of a club that's experienced no shortage of heartbreak during its history and finally win them a first domestic honour. But whereas Nîmes are a club recently relegated to the National, Goal FC are a club that are promoted to this level for the first time for FM24. Only founded in the year 2000, they are famous as a youth development club, with more than 2,000 youngsters representing them across various age groups, making them France's largest youth club. The club are based in the village of Chasselet near Lyon, and it's home to just 2,000 residents. However, one of its inhabitants is well known. Former Barcelona and France international Ludovic Julie played for the forerunner of goal, appearing for the club alongside his father, before later transferring to local giants Olympique Lyonnais. He came back to the club to finish his career here, and the side stadium is named in his honour. This season will be the first that Goal have competed at a Tier 3 level, so if you are looking for a side in FM24 where you get to write the history, this might be the ideal side for you. Or how about a side that are twice winners of France's national title but have no trophies to show for it? Rouen is a city in Normandy on the banks of the River Seine. The club appeared in European competition in the late 60s, where they exited Intercity Fairs Cup following a defeat to eventual champions Arsenal. And in 1940 and 1945 they were champions of France, but the record books don't credit them for these victories. This is because both titles were captured during the Second World War, when football in the nation wasn't being organised by the French Federation, meaning Rouen's 2 domestic titles are not recognised. But perhaps the challenge of taking charge of a club newly promoted to this level for FM24 and guiding them through the divisions before finally winning them a league title that is recognised by the authorities is your perfect FM24 adventure.